Welcome back everyone. Today we're reacting to another Piers Morgan video, hot off the press. Topic of the debate or discussion is Islamophobia and grooming gangs. This video to me was just another opportunity for people to attack Islam and Muslims. The world has gone crazy right now with LGBT rights and anti-Semitism, and we forget that thousands of Muslims every year are direct victims of Islamophobia. It's almost completely forgotten about. We're going to start with the discussion between Piers Morgan and Jordan Peterson. Let's get straight into it.
The participation in these rapes by members of the Pakistani Muslim community, it was like 1 in 7 of the men in some of these communities was directly involved. And that meant everyone knew about it. Absolutely everyone on the Pakistani Muslim side. And the moderates were certainly, silent and complicit. Now, obviously, so were the authorities. And so that's a complete bloody catastrophe for everyone involved. But there's a serious conversation to be had in the West, and particularly in the UK, maybe France and Germany in secondary place, about just exactly how it is that liberal Western democracies, with their emphasis on the rights of women, can live side by side with Islam in general, especially the sort of Islam that's transformed into enabling fundamentalism that allows this sort of criminality on the part of the psychopathic, resentful psychopathic sadists.
Firstly, this joke of a man needs to pipe down. He makes 2 serious claims. He states 1 in 7 men was directly involved, so everyone knew about it. Firstly, where did he get those figures from? And secondly, how do you even begin to justify that everyone was involved? He's meant to be a doctor. I'm not sure what his specialty is, but it's a little stupid and unintelligent to assume that absolutely everyone was in on it. He then goes on to say the kind of Islam that enables fundamentalists that allow this criminality. Has this man read the Quran? Does he understand the religion at all? There's not one statement in the Quran that can be used to justify grooming gangs in any way, shape whatsoever. Islam clearly states you are not even allowed to touch or shake the hand of a woman that isn't your direct sibling. Not only that, you are not even allowed to shake a woman's hand, even if there was a barrier between your hands. How can a religion that states I am not even allowed to shake the hand of a woman be interpreted in a way that justifies, that allows grooming gangs?
So here's one wants to have that conversation.
Well, listen, I think any conversation is worth having, no question. I would point out that one of the most heinous gang rape stories of modern times just got exposed in France, with that poor woman whose husband was drugging and having a rape by. Now, what was fascinating about that from a social point of view was just the sheer range of predominantly white local men from all walks of life who thought it was perfectly okay to go and rape a drugged woman in her bed and be videoed doing so. And I found that utterly heinous and reprehensible. So it's not just like this is a problem which is only in the Pakistani British Muslim community. It's not. Having said that, this is clearly
definitely not.
But the other point I would make, Jordan, is between. What I was going to make on a wider point is that there are roughly, I think, about the same number of Muslims in the UK and the US. We have disproportionately higher than the US in terms of the size of our population. I think it's about 5-6 million in both, something around there. And it's still true that the vast majority of Muslims in both the UK and the US are not extremist, lead their lives completely peacefully. The UK has always come out pretty much on top of all the surveys of tolerance and diversity and a good, safe, pretty good place to live.
This discussion is specifically about UK cases. Okay, let me share some data. This data can be found on the gov.uk website. I'm sick and tired of listening to doctors who don't know what they're talking about. These figures I'm about to quote are for years 2011 to 2016, so over a 5-year period of convicted offenders. Sexual assault of a male under 13, 408 people of a white background were found guilty. The combined total of every other ethnicity was 84. RAPE of females under 16. 1,436 people of a white background were found guilty. The combined total of every other ethnicity is 1,359. So even when combining every other ethnicity in regards to this specific case is less than those of a white background. This discussion is clearly an attack on Muslims, and things only get worse.
This little hate campaign of his against me was because I just quoted what he was saying on Twitter. I'll give the quote again because I paraphrased it last time. To be crystal clear, Tommy Robinson wrote at the end of last year, Palestine is a shithole full of inbred Islamist parasites and terrorists. Now, everyone who hears those words knows they're wrong. Tommy himself went back after I said this and just doubled down, said it's true. It's full of terrorists and parasites and inbreds. He doesn't back down on it. Now, Jordan's responsible for this mess that's going on now. And I don't say that lightly because I've spoken to Jordan for hours. And in terms of philosophy of religion, we get along well, we have good conversations. But I think he should be ashamed of himself because in the UK, we know who Tommy Robinson is.
We know exactly who Tommy Robinson is. And let's not call him Tommy Robinson. Let's remind people what his real name is. Stephen Christopher Laxley Lennon. Currently behind bars and hopefully behind bars for a very, very long time.
Or perhaps democracy in those things.
Well, what I was going to argue was today the Archbishop of Canterbury steps down, and
Yeah.
he's stepping down because he failed to report child
Abuse in the church, yes.
And,
I agree.
You know, I'm a Catholic.
Wish
and
I'd
I have
made that point to Jordan.
And, well, I'm a Catholic, and I have to say the
am I.
Vatican is not clear of this crime in any sense of the word. You know, the Vatican
Agreed.
is plagued by this crime. Those are white Christian or Catholic
Yes.
people. You know, I don't quite. I think it's so unhelpful for us to say that child grooming is exclusive.
But also that story in France is very relevant because
Yes. Well, yeah.
they were not all Muslim men doing it from a cultural or religious point of view. I mean, the terrifying thing, Esther, about that story was just the randomness of who these guys were.
Yeah.
They were highly paid professionals. They were local farmers. They were young, old,
Plumbers.
black, white. I mean, they were everything and anything, right? And they were all joined in this horrendous thing.
Brotherhood of
Yeah.
sexual sadism.
Before we jump on to the next clip, this is very important and I thank the woman for bringing this up as it just so happened to slip Pierce's mind when speaking to Jordan. Before we discuss the allegations of the Archbishop stepping down, what is an Archbishop? Just so we're all clear. An Archbishop is the highest order of bishop in the Christian Church. Back in November 2024, the Archbishop steps down. Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, the senior cleric of the Church of England, resigned on Tuesday after an investigation found that he failed to report decades of physical, sexual and psychological abuse of boys and young men by a church-linked lawyer. Decades, not years, decades of abuse. You know, these stories make me physically sick. I can't believe I have to talk about such things. The facts are the facts.
Pakistani
What planet
British
are you
men.
living on?
Ask her again about the white school shooters.
Where
she
I
didn't
read
answer
the
that
Quran.
question.
It's nice to have a conspiracy theorist on the line. It's always good fun. I hate to pull rank at you and sound like a twat, but
Not a
both of my
conspiracy
PhDs are
theory,
in
it's
philosophy
called
of
the
religion,
Quran.
and I think I'm slightly more qualified to speak about the Quran than you are, and to suggest even for a moment that that document allows for, what it does is condemn non-consensual marriage and non-consensual sexual contact.
Well, I'd look up the rates of child brides then, and I'd see
the
what
real
countries
risk you
they're
have in
most
the US
prevalent in.
isn't multiculturalism. It's a multi-billionaire running the biggest social media planet, one of the biggest in the world, which has turned into an echo chamber of your ridiculous ideology. And the fact that you're sat here telling us all and telling the British public, who we're proudly multicultural, as someone that was brought up in multicultural working class Birmingham, I can tell you for sure that there's you won't find a Muslim there who's read the Quran and went, oh, you know what, it didn't rule out sexual violence, so I might just crack on with that. I don't know what planet you're living on or what you're smoking, but I'd suggest that you do a course in religious studies before you start chatting.
Another bimbo talking about things she knows nothing about. I don't know her name, I'm not interested in it, and I'm not going to find out. There you have it, guys, a 2-hour podcast attacking Muslims with Peterson saying we were all involved. I'm more interested in knowing your thoughts. Let me know in the comment section below. Support me by liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace out.